Today we shall be embarking to the stars to follow the adventures of Atomic Betty. Betty Barrett is a seemingly ordinary 12-year-old girl who lives a double life as a Galactic Guardian, where she is the captain of X5 and Sparky. The show is about Betty fighting intergalactic threats whilst trying to maintain her normal life. Somehow no one she knows figures out she's a space hero, despite every time her bracelet beeps, she disappears for hours at a time every day. Atomic Betty is the third Flash animation I have covered in the Forgotten cartoon series, alongside Sally Bollywood and Invisible Network of Kids. Clearly it was a very popular animation style. This show has one of my favourite theme songs, but the line, "Who's got time for pink and lace? This girl's built for outer space," has always bothered me because Betty's Galactic Guardian outfit is bright pink. Was the theme song made before the show was coloured in or something? The show ran for 3 seasons from 2004 to 2008. I'm going to be talking about the most important characters and in Betty's life. Betty's life includes her Galactic Guardian crew, her enemies both in space and on Earth, as well as her family. I'm going to be starting with the Galactic Guardian crew. The Galactic Guardians are like space police, and every Galactic Guardian crew has a robot team member whose job it is to navigate their ship and to provide information that was otherwise unknown for the mission. Even though he might be a machine, X5 is shown to have feelings and emotions in the episodes I'm about to show you. In the episode Bye Bye X5, it starts with Betty getting summoned to the ship, and she brings along a cat toy her mum has asked her to assemble. She arrives at her destination only to discover she is on a new ship that her fish boss Admiral DeGill wants her to test out. During Admiral DeGill's explanation, Maximus hacks into it and hears about the new ship, and he plans to steal it. The actual mission is to stop a swarm of Siamese galactic mosquitoes from attacking the planet. The new ship came with a new robot called X8.5, the next generation of robot that was able to spot the mosquitoes when X5 couldn't. Sparky takes the opportunity to start making fun of X5, calling him a second-hand robot. That makes X5 jealous, and every time the new robot helps, X5 goes to salt. He also turned the cat toy into a guillotine. Betty then suggests that he asks X8.5 for help, and he responds, "I'd rather have a dog beast consume my inner workings." Just then Maximus attacks them, but they catch missiles. The new ship has a function that every time they have a slight victory, balloons and confetti fall from the sky and it blares loud music, and as you can see, Betty is not a fan of it. Whilst the mini disco was happening, Maximus attacks again, and X8.5 started listing how unlikely they are to live. This annoys Sparky, so Sparky tricks him into meditating to make him shut up. That immediately backfires as X8.5 goes into a zen state and cannot hear Betty's orders, leaving them as sitting duck to be attacked and unable to control the ship because the ship is connected to X8.5. They manage to not die, then the music plays again. Sparky tells it to stop, but the ship takes what he says as stopping the whole ship and it all shuts down. X5 says a dig about how you cannot trust new technology. Maximus catches them in an electric net that is going to crush them. X5 creates a solution using the cat toy that blows up Maximus, saving the day. Ultimately, they decide to go back to their regular ship and X5. This episode shows X5 working through his insecurities of being replaced by a newer model, but it's not the only episode in season 1 where he has to challenge this insecurity of being replaced. In the episode Battle of the Box, it starts with an Empress being kidnapped by Maximus and taken to the planet of Cruston, which X5 informs them is a planet where uncaring owners discard their robots when they become obsolete, which X5 reveals is his nightmare. Did not know robots dreamed or had nightmares. They arrive to see piles of robots, which horrifies X5. The robots then emerge to attack them because they are living beings like the ones who threw them away, and they kind of hold grudges, understandably. X5 then notices the leader of the robots is actually his long-lost uncle B1. Just as the two of them reconcile, Maximus attack. B1 agrees to save the Empress after Maximus attacks them because the enemy of his enemy is his friend, plus he wants to hang out with X5. He guides them through the underground tunnels. They see the Crustonator, which crushes robots' parts into a cube. X5 passes out from shock. They then find the Empress, and she is rude, telling them it took them long enough, and refers to B1 and X5 as hardware and tells them to stay away from her, saying that robots make her sneeze. I would like to point out multiple of B1's friends died for them to get to her, and this is how she acts. Talk about ungrateful. Even after her rude speech, B1 still helped her escape. I would have left her there. They disguise themselves to get close to Maximus, who is about to exchange the Empress he no longer has for the ransom, but he doesn't tell her people that he no longer has her. Betty and the crew manage to get the ransom from him because the ransom he demanded was dangerous, so he can't have it. P1 summons all the robots and Maximus flees before the robots attack him. The Empress then jumps on to Maximus' getaway hoverbike, saying she would rather be kidnapped by Maximus than stay with the robot. It turns out the ransom they gave Maximus was not what he asked for. In fact, it was a note saying, "You can keep her, because she's awful," in case you couldn't guess. B1 tells X5 he's too good of a robot to end up on Cruston. And X5 said as long as his uncle is there, he's not scared anymore. It was a really cute scene. I would also like to point out that apparently this mission took just under 50 minutes because Betty left at the beginning of a basketball game and got back in time to finish it and win. Episodes like these give X5 a sense of humanity. X5 shows he has a fear of being discarded and replaced like his uncle, but he overcomes it. Throughout the show, he is shown to be very sarcastic, especially towards Sparky. They still maintain some of his robot mannerisms that you would expect from a robot, like how he refuses to make animal noises when they are pretending to be another creature to go undercover, because robots don't do that. His intelligence and his humour make him a very valuable part of Betty's team. Sparky has what can only be referred to as idiot luck, which is when a character is so stupid and oblivious to what's happening around them. They are too stupid to even know that they are in danger half the time, that the universe, to make up for their walnut-sized brain, gives them 100% luck, so that things always work out for them, aka they have massive plot armor. An example for Sparky would be when Betty and X5 got sucked into a wormhole and he was left alone to defuse a bomb. He cut the wrong wire, speeding up the bomb's countdown, and somehow it all worked out for him. Another episode for Sparky's idiot luck I'm going to talk about is the Eternal Elixir. Betty and the team get told to go to the planet Alchemas. They arrive at the ruin and Sparky's eating corn dog. Turns out this professor has discovered a mysterious tablet. X5 translates it and it tells them that there's an eternal elixir that was believed to be nothing more than a fairy tale, and it's actually real. Sparky accidentally knocks over a ladder, destroying half a dozen artifacts, but this destruction causes the final artifact to shine a light on the tablet, telling the crew where the next clue is for the Eternal Elixir. It is on the moon planet of Polaris. Turns out this random man in the background, who did not talk once in the scene, is evil, and he tells multiple villains. Back on the ship, Sparky is talking about if he had a time machine, he would go back in time and eat that corn dog again, even though when they get to the planet, he already has another corn dog. They walk about 5 feet into the skeleton cave, and Sparky starts collecting bones for his cousin's dog from these people's dead bodies. Sparky starts poking these random corpses, causing them all to fall on him. Coincidentally, he activates something, and it reveals a door. X5 translates some new hieroglyphics that tells them only the key of Nye can unlock the golden gate of eternal life, which is on Cygnus 7. Before they have a chance to discuss what that means, Sparky grabs the key from the altar. Unsurprisingly, it was a trap, and the room starts getting almost crushing them. X5 said they should use Sparky's head to stop the ceiling coming down instead of the skeleton that Betty used. They fly to Cygnus 7. They get to the ruin and discover Maximus trying to open the container with the elixir. Maximus captures X5 because the hieroglyphics say only one with a heart of gold can free the potion, and X5 has a literal heart of gold. X5 opens the cage. Two very conflicting messages here. Before it said only the key of Nye can unlock it, and now it's saying anyone with a golden heart. Make up your mind. X5 opens the cage while he takes the elixir, running to safety. Then Maximus tempts him with another corn dog. He falls for it and drops the elixir. Maximus has the elixir, and then another villain called Nuclear takes it from him. Betty takes it from her, but she ends up tripping and it goes flying through the air, landing on Sparky's corn dog, and it turns his corn dog into a corn dog that cannot be finished. Sparky is elated about his immortal corn dog, unlike everyone else in the cave, and there we have idiot luck. He wished for it earlier to be able to eat a corn dog over and over again, and now he can. I would like to mention Sparky's stomach's insatiable hunger gets them into trouble a lot. In one episode, he accidentally unfroze a villain from her icy prison by having a barbecue on top of her. The second Sparky episode is called Captain Sparky. The episode starts with Betty and the crew saving people from the flaming building. Betty and X5 save the parent, but the baby slips through the net. Sparky runs to catch it. He ends up running into something and knocks himself out. The baby apparently has wings and just floats down and lands on Sparky. Everyone ends up thinking Sparky caught the baby and saved it. He gets a promotion and becomes captain of his own crew, keeping up the baby saving lie. The day after this, Betty gets called that Nuclear has created a star siphon, a device that can extinguish suns and absorb their energy so that she can enslave the galaxy. Betty gets asked to act as backup for Sparky on his first mission as captain. On Sparky's ship, he is filming himself so that he can brag about how great he is. After X5 intercepts a message about the planet of Bangu being attacked, Betty suggests going to check it, and Sparky acts like it was his idea, which angers X5. They arrive to where Nuclear is, and Sparky is too distracted, busy telling the fabricated story of what happened when he caught the baby. So Betty and X5 decide to merge their ships together to double their firepower and match Nuclear's firepower. Back on Sparky's ship, he blames the damage that his ship sustains on Betty. The only reason he's alive is because of Betty. Nuclear attacks them again and Sparky starts freaking out, and then he admits he never caught the baby. He eventually asks Betty for help. The two ships destroy Nuclear's drill. This infuriates Nuclear, and he throws the device's auto-destruct unit, and this time Sparky actually catches the bomb, making him an actual hero. Now that he's an actual hero, he asks to be demoted back to Betty's ship. This episode did make me question what Betty did to become captain. Even though Sparky can be reckless, moronic, and sometimes egotistical, he ultimately always chooses the right thing, even if it hurts his pride. That paired with his idiot luck make him a very valuable member of the team. So we'll be talking about Betty's greatest foes, starting with Betty versus all felines. One is Percy, her mother's cat, who her mum acts like is her son. Percy does not like Betty and is always trying to cause trouble for her. Then we have Maximus, who is attempting to be the supreme evil overlord of the galaxy. He is the main villain of the show, and he also looks like a cat. He also acts like a cat sometimes, coughing up hairballs. He hates water. Despite knowing very little about one another, they work in perfect harmony to ruin Betty's day. First, let's talk about The Cat in Space, but it also features Percy. In this episode, Verbal for the Sneeze, the two of them unknowingly team up to make Betty's life a living hell. Betty comes home in the rain to find a note from her mum telling her not to let Percy out of the house, which Betty thought would be easy considering it's pouring rain. Betty gets summoned for a mission and Percy accidentally tags along without Betty's knowledge. Apparently, it is time for Maximus' annual board meeting where all the galactic criminals head to his headquarters for his evil plans for the year. So Betty is sent to infiltrate it and record it. We also find out Sparky is allergic to cats and he sneezes, almost crashing the ship into the sun. The crew gets into the sky. Some had better disguises than others, and they head in still unaware of their stowaway. Percy sneaks in but is immediately noticed by a cleaning bot that classifies him as vermin and then chases him around, where he lands in Maximus' room. Maximus takes a liking to him and takes him to the villain meeting. This is when Betty realizes her nightmares have become a reality. Percy and Maximus have teamed up. Sparky decides to leap down to retrieve the cat. Minimus catches him. When he tries to get the cat, he sneezes, landing on Betty, destroying her disguise. Then every villain in the building attacks them. They get caught. All of a sudden, the cleaning bot from earlier comes to get Percy. Percy jumps onto Sparky, causing him to balloon up like a blimp, allowing them to get away from the guard with Maximus's plan. Then Percy attacks Sparky, causing him to pop. Betty, X5, Sparky, and Percy drop to the bottom of Maximus's tower to their ship. They manage to get away and get home just in time for her mum. In that previous episode, it was an accident that Percy ended up on Maximus and was making Betty's life hard. In these episodes, he does it very intentionally. In the episode Maximus's Displeasure, the episode starts with Betty's mum asking Betty to take care of the garden and to take care of Percy. It then cuts to Percy eating Betty's pet fish. Betty then chases the cat all around the house, then the garden, and she eventually gets the fish, but that little chase scene ultimately destroys the garden. At the end of the episode, when Betty's mum returns, we see Percy excited for Betty to get into trouble, but Betty uses something that she got on the mission to restore the garden. Another episode Percy terrorizes Betty is But the Cat Came Back. In this episode, Betty has a school dance. She is attending with her friend Noah. Her mum said she cannot go to the dance unless her room is clean, so she cleans it and gets summoned for a mission about a space traffic jam. I don't get how you get jammed in space. Can you not just go around them? Betty sorts it out and comes home to her room destroyed, and Percy emerges from under her bed with a smug look. Betty cleans her room again and then gets summoned for another mission. This time, she barricades her bedroom door so Percy can't get in. She completes the mission and gets home to her room destroyed again. This time Percy gets in through the window. Did not know cats could open windows. She cleans her room for the third time. She gets summoned again and barricades her window. She fights the baddies and come home. Surprise, surprise, her room is destroyed. Turns out this cat got in using the air vents. How? How did he do that? This time Betty sets a trap so that when Percy comes into her room, an alien hologram scares him from her room. With her room clean, Betty gets to go to the dance. This episode, along with the other cat fight she's had, get it, cat fight, along with the other cat fight she's had, this has brought me to the conclusion that Betty has a gene that produces a pheromone that makes cats hate her. I know that might seem insane, but this is a show with aliens, and I cannot come up with no other reason this cat would go through so much trouble just to mess with her. Other than the feline species, Betty does have one other major enemy, a girl called Penelope, who is deemed so despicable she is chosen to be the queen of these alien bees called Dronopolis. Betty gets summoned to the mission saying that the Dronopolis have a new queen. Turns out these alien bees kidnap her in the middle of the night. Penelope wakes up thinking it's all a dream. She makes some quack-like darts, and when told people are coming near the planet, she orders them to be destroyed. I would say give her the benefit of the doubt, saying she thought this is all a dream, but she probably would make the same decision knowing it was reality. Betty's crew manages to get away from the bees by turning their ship into a giant bee and telling them that Betty's crew went the opposite way. These bees are not the smartest. The crew manages to sneak into the hive. They find Penelope making demands for diamonds and pizza. She truly has her priorities right, in my opinion. Upon seeing Betty, Penelope orders them to be removed, which ends in a fight to which the bees are then distracted by a floral scented bee diversion, aka a floating flower. They take Penelope against her will, and they manage to get her back home. And at the end of the episode, it turns out the bees kept a strand of Penelope's hair, and they create a Penelope bee hybrid. That new queen Penelope does appear in later episodes when she's stealing kings so that she's not alone. So she's living up to the Penelope name. Penelope is always awful. In one episode, she steals Betty's diary to read it to the entire school. In another, she steals her bracelet, which controls Betty's ship and makes it spin out of control and starts shooting off lasers. It's not a good time for the crew. Now moving on to Betty's family, I have beef with Betty's mum. I did not have much memory of Betty's mum, but from her character design, I thought she was just gonna be a cool, chill mum. Nope. In episode 6, in the first season, Betty's parents decide to have a garage sale because the garage is overcrowded. Betty's dad suggests getting rid of some of the cat stuff, including Percy's first hairball. Her mum is appalled by the idea of getting rid of Percy's things and suggests selling Betty's limited edition entire collection of some comic book series she loves. Betty begs and pleads her mum not to sell it, but she can't stay to protect her things because she's a galactic guardian and she has a mission to do. Her mum then decides to sell her comics anyway in a raffle. Luckily, her loving, caring father rigged the raffle so his daughter wouldn't be heartbroken by her mother selling off her most prized possessions. Her mother constantly puts the needs of Percy over Betty, her human child. Another member of Betty's family I want to talk about is her grandma. In episode 22 of season 1, when Betty goes to visit her grandma, Betty discovers a bracelet in her attic that looks a lot like her Galactic Guardian bracelet, but Betty has her doubts that it means anything and then moves on, thinking it's just a coincidence. That is until, in the episode Evil Idol, Betty's grandma gives her a necklace on her birthday that she can press if she's ever in trouble. Later that episode, when she is caught by Maximus and his villains, she presses the necklace and her grandma flies to save her. Turns out that she was a Galactic Guardian called Beatrixo. In the episode Antimatter, Betty is made aware that an odd prisoner tracked by the Galactic Guardian has escaped and is attacking headquarters. After Betty declares that she will defeat her, Antimatter says that is there any way to treat family? This is where she finds out Antimatter is Betty's grandma's sister, and that Betty's great-grandfather was a black hole alien and her great-grandmother was a human. Beatrixo got no powers like her mum, but became a Galactic Guardian, and Antimatter got powers like her dad and became a villain. Betty heads back to Earth to confront her grandmother for never telling her that she had an evil great aunt, and her response is, "It must have slipped my mind." Betty tells her that Antimatter is coming for her, and her grandmother appears unfazed and asks Sparky and X-5 how the pie was. I was unaware robots ate pie? Anyway, the pie was apparently really good. Antimatter disables the ship and strips some sheep. I don't know why. Beatrixo is mad she took her sheep and transforms into her Galactic Guardian outfit. They head into the grandma's old ship, which X-5 and Sparky says is incredibly outdated. The two of them then have a sibling quarrel. Antimatter threatens to kill them and Beatrixo decides to make a pie, much to the joy of X-5 and Sparky. This angers Antimatter and she breaks into the ship. Betty tries to fight her but fails. Antimatter then tries to suck up the whole ship into the black hole while Beatrixo is still making the pie. Just before Betty and her crew get sucked up, Antimatter sucks up pie and gets turned into a statue using pie batter. The day is saved and Betty hangs out with her grandma. Oh, and Betty's granddad? I thought he was dead the entire time. No, we find out in the Christmas special he's just trapped on a planet for the past like 40 years. Betty rescues him. I just noticed that B1, X-5's uncle, was on Betty's grandma's team in the Galactic Guardian. So that means Betty's grandma threw B1 away. What I've concluded from this show is Betty is a great galactic guardian, but an awful friend. She constantly runs out of them, yes, for a good reason, but from her friend's perspective, she just abandons them constantly for hours at a time. Her friends are incredibly patient people. I would have stopped talking to Betty if every time, anytime I asked you for help, you just disappeared for like 3 hours and I was just left to suffer. I just wanted to mention these things that I noticed. One, Sparky's mum, Julia, has dated both Maximus and Max, aka Maximus's father. You could say she has a type. Also, I found out there was meant to be a sequel series called Atomic Betty Redux. This was hinted at in the episode The Future Is Now. The series was meant to show Betty all grown up, but it was ultimately cancelled. Boo. I'm always surprised no one notices Betty's ship when it comes to pick her up. At first I thought, oh, it will shield from view. But when the ship is actually acknowledged as invisible, there's a shimmer on it. The audience knows it's invisible. So that means whenever they pick up Betty, no one in this town ever looks up. I watched the entirety of Atomic Betty and I thoroughly enjoyed it. They showed how the Galactic Guardians are a family tradition. In season 2, they introduced the character of Paloma, who has a secret that is hinted at throughout the season, and they show us that mystery on Earth while Betty is off fighting in space. That made both the Earth story and the space story interesting, because the following season, Betty's mum and her best friend, every episode we were just following them on Earth as like a B plot, and it got boring. So I'm so glad in season 2 they switched up with the mix of action and humour. Atomic Betty is a timeless show. Unlike other shows of its time that would need to be updated if they were to ever reboot it, they wouldn't have to change much. If they ever did decide to restart their plans for the sequel, I feel like they could still capture the show's original charm. The show's lore was fun to follow too. There are not too many glaring plot holes in it. It was a very easy show to watch. The overall reason I think it was forgotten is just due to time. It had an interesting hero, dozens of unique villains, and Betty's home life was enjoyable to watch too. That'll be all for today. I hope you had a grand old time, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye!